Hello everybody. Today we will talk about respecing for tournaments. The structure of this video is that first I will explain what is a respec and what is the idea why this may or may not help you. Then I will show you some data that I gathered myself from a test that I did, and then I will discuss different scenarios with different builds, how this may or may not play out. So first of all, what is a respec? So if you go to your workshop, respec is that little respec named button at the top right corner. Now, if you do not have this button here, it means that you have not researched respec yet. So if you go to your labs and you look at under the main tab, main research, down here you can see workshop respec level maxed, and you can unlock this research at tier 4 wave 30. What does a respec do? Respec basically resets your workshop and gives you back 100% of the coins that you have spent in your workshop, and this will allow you to spend your coins throughout the whole workshop in a different way. If I press the respec button on the top right, it says that I will receive back 1.44 trillion coins, and a respec will cost 150 gems. The idea why some people choose to respec for their tournaments is because their tournament strategy is different from their farming strategy, and dividing the coins throughout your workshop in a different way may allow you to get better results in the tournament. I wanted to find out if respecing the workshop would help me get better rewards from the tournament, and would it be worth it to spend 150 gems for the respec and another 150 to respec back to my farming build after the tournament. So I designed a test for myself. I did 2 tournament runs with my previous build before respecing, and then I did 2 more tournament runs within the same tournament after respecing to compare the results and see if it would be worth it for me to respec every tournament twice. Let's jump right into the results. I am currently in the champion tier of the tournament. The B column here shows results from the runs before I respect, and the C column shows results from after I respect. I did do 2 runs in both options of the tournament, and I'm going to consider and compare the better result from each one, just because oftentimes when people do their tournaments, sometimes they choose to do multiple runs and they get rewards based on the best result. So the best result in pre-respec was 622 waves, and in the post-respec runs I got 670 waves, which means I got 48 extra waves. Now, does this 48 extra waves actually give me any additional benefit in the tournament? Here you can see a screenshot of the final results of my tournament bracket. I finished 10th, and if I would have finished with 622 waves, I would have finished 11th. So if we put the same information back into the table, you can see that finishing 10th, I got 150 stones and 300 gems. If I would have finished 11th with 622 waves, I would have gotten 125 stones and 275 gems. So I gained 25 stones and 25 gems. I paid 300 gems for the respec. So essentially, I got 25 stones for a price of 275 gems. Now, whether it's worth it for someone or not is everybody's own calculation. Now, this does not mean that I will always get this kind of gain in the tournament. It can play out very differently. If we go to the tower.lol and analyze our tournament performance and how we would have placed in different brackets, we can see that I was actually lucky to get 10th, and the average would have been just around that 13 mark. Unfortunately, I do not have the same chart for a situation where I would have had 622 final waves as I had with my pre-respec runs, but it would have placed me an average of 14th, which is also one place lower than I would have placed on average with 670 waves. If we put the same information into the table we had before, but we use the average as what I would have placed in this tournament, then being 13th versus being 14th actually doesn't give me any additional benefit. So I was lucky to get a benefit from this tournament. I do have to mention that there are serious limitations to this kind of testing. The data set for this particular tournament was very small, just 2 runs with each setup. And to make further conclusions, I would even need data from different tournaments to come to some kind of a better conclusion. So neither me nor you should make any specific decisions based on this tournament. The idea was just to give you a way of looking at it, because the brackets are very different. Sometimes maybe I'm placed in a bracket where just getting the same 48 waves would get me 5 positions up, and sometimes it wouldn't get me any positions up. So the final results are still remaining a mystery, but I hope now you have a general understanding how you can look at this process or look at this idea of respecing for tournaments, so you can either start gathering data for yourself or just make a test yourself. Another thing I want to mention when it comes to respecing is the workshop attack and defense and utility discount labs. And these are generally not very popular labs among most of the players, but depending on where you are in the game, sometimes it can be very beneficial to put 1 or 2 of them going on just for a day or 2 with a good enough speed. Maybe you will get 10 to 20 levels or even more into your discount, and if you do a respec after running those researches for a little bit, then the amount of coins you'll be able to spend much more cheaper after respecing might be actually worth it. Whether you may benefit from respecing more or less can depend a lot on the strategy you're playing as well, because if you're playing the blender strategy in your tournaments, and if you're playing the blender strategy in your farming runs, it doesn't make sense to respec and waste gems for that. But if you're playing glass cannon in tournaments and blender in farming, then allocating those coins for your farming run towards damage and attack may benefit you a lot. If your farming run is Devo and your tournament is glass cannon, then you probably benefit greatly from respecing. And if your farming runs are Devo and your tournaments are blender strategy, then you may not have to double respec, but sometimes it might be enough to just unspec and then do a respec after your tournaments. So in that case, you would only need to spend 150 gems. And finally, if your farming is glass cannon and your tournaments are glass cannon, then you may or may not want to respec, because if you do respec, at that point you have a lot of coins spent into your workshop enhancements, into the coin bonus and sell bonus. And even though you're farming with large damage and you're doing tournaments with large damage, you would even be able to add those enhancements coins also towards the damage enhancements and get even a bigger benefit out of that. But that is individual for every player. Another thing that you may want to consider is the league that you're playing in, because if you're playing in the gold league or the platinum league, then let's say that you do a respec and you get 2 or 3 rewards higher, then the difference between those rewards is not as significant as it would be in Champion League or even more in the Legends League. And a very important consideration is, where should you be spending your gems right now? Because if you're on the earlier part of the game, you probably want to spend your gems on cards. Losing 300 gems is a pretty good amount of gems, and maybe you'll get more out of that if you spend it on cards or you spend that 300 on modules. Feel free to share your experience with respecing down in the comments and let me know if you have tried it or haven't tried it, has it played out for you? Has it not played out for you? And if you are respecing regularly or not. That way other players will be able to see different scenarios. Also, if you like the video, press the like button and please subscribe for the algorithm. Thank you.